In the heart of Manchester's industrial landscape, where factory chimneys pierced the grey sky, lived a young girl named Emily Thompson. Her world was small, but filled with dreams bigger than the narrow streets of her working-class neighbourhood. Every morning she watched her father, Robert, prepare for another grueling shift at the local steel factory, his weathered hands telling stories of hard work and endless struggle. Emily's mother had passed away when she was just 5, leaving behind a collection of medical books that would become her most treasured possession. Those books, with their worn pages and faded illustrations, became her window to a world beyond the cramped 2-bedroom apartment they called home. Robert Thompson was a single father who understood the power of education. Despite working double shifts, he would save every penny he could, ensuring Emily had books, pencils, and hope. "Knowledge is your ticket out," he would say, his eyes sparkling with determination that masked years of hardship. At school, Emily was different. While other children played during breaks, she would sit quietly, reading medical journals she had carefully collected. Her teachers noticed her unusual passion. Miss Eleanor Green, her science teacher, was the first to recognize Emily's extraordinary potential. "You have something special," she would tell Emily, "a gift for understanding how things work." The family's financial struggles were constant. Some nights dinner was nothing more than bread and potato soup. Emily learned to be grateful for every single meal. She would help her father mend their clothes, learning to sew patches carefully, much like she imagined a surgeon would stitch a wound, with precision and care. Her small bedroom became her sanctuary. A rickety desk near the window, covered with medical books and notebooks filled with handwritten notes, was her laboratory of dreams. She would spend hours studying human anatomy, memorizing every bone, muscle, and complex system of the human body. The neighborhood kids didn't understand her. They saw her as strange, the quiet girl who preferred books to football, who talked about cells and surgeries while they discussed weekend football matches. But Emily never felt lonely. Her books were her companions, her dreams, her playground. Local. Community members would sometimes whisper, "Robert's daughter is different," they would say. Some meant it as a criticism, others as a compliment. Emily heard these conversations, tucking them away as motivation rather than allowing them to discourage her. Her father's support was unwavering. Each payday, he would bring home a small gift, sometimes a second-hand medical book from a charity shop, sometimes a notebook with crisp white pages. "For your studies," he would say, his rough hands gently placing the gift on her desk. Emily's routine was disciplined. After school, she would help her father with household chores, then study, until late at night. The flickering lamplight would cast shadows on her concentrated face as she absorbed knowledge like a sponge absorbs water. Local doctors began to notice her unusual curiosity. Dr. Martin Peterson, a kind-hearted physician who ran a small clinic in their neighborhood, would sometimes allow Emily to visit and observe. These brief moments were her first glimpses into the medical world she desperately wanted to join. Her dream seemed impossible. University was expensive, medical school even, more so. But Emily had something more powerful than money. She had hope, determination, and an unbreakable spirit. She knew that somewhere between her small bedroom and her enormous dreams, there was a path waiting to be discovered. As Manchester's industrial rhythm continued around her, the distant factory whistles, the sound of workers returning home, the constant hum of city life, Emily Thompson prepared herself for a journey that would challenge everything she knew. She didn't just want to become a doctor. She wanted to heal, to understand, to make a difference. And in that small apartment, surrounded by medical books and her father's unwavering love, her journey was about to begin. Her story was just starting, but her heart was already filled with the courage of someone who knew that limitations are often just illusions waiting to be shattered. The endnote. This 800-word narrative captures Emily's beginnings, using simple language, focusing on her background, dreams, and the challenges she faces, all while maintaining an engaging and inspirational tone. The university campus loomed before Emily like a massive, intimidating fortress of knowledge. Her first day felt like stepping into a different world, a world far removed from her small Manchester apartment. The other students wore expensive clothes, carried designer bags, and spoke with confidence that seemed to come from generations of privilege. Emily's second-hand bag and carefully mended jacket made her stand out, but she refused to feel ashamed. Her father's words echoed in her mind. "You belong here as much as anyone else." She clutched her notebooks tightly, a shield against the unfamiliar environment. Medical school was nothing like she had imagined. The lectures were complex, the expectations high, and the competition fierce. While other students came from wealthy families with private tutors, Emily relied on her determination and late-night study sessions. She worked part-time as a hospital cleaner, using every spare moment to learn. Dr. William Harris, a senior professor, first noticed Emily during a challenging anatomy lecture. While other students stumbled, she answered questions with a clarity that surprised everyone. Her knowledge wasn't just memorized facts. It was a deep understanding that came from years of passionate study. The financial struggle was constant. Some nights Emily would count her coins, wondering if she could afford both her textbooks and dinner. She learned to survive on minimal resources, cooking simple meals in her tiny dormitory room. Instant noodles became her closest companion, supplemented by vitamins and an unwavering spirit. Her fellow students weren't always kind. Whispers and sideways glances followed her. "She's just a cleaner," some would say, not realizing how hard she worked. But Emily learned to turn their words into fuel for her ambition. Every critical comment became another reason to study harder, to prove herself. The hospital cleaning job was more than just a way to earn money. It was her secret classroom. During quiet moments, she would observe doctors, listen to medical conversations, and learn things no textbook could teach. The senior nurses became her unexpected mentors, sharing wisdom that went beyond medical procedures. One particular night changed everything. While cleaning the surgical ward, Emily witnessed a complex medical emergency. A patient was struggling, and the junior doctors seemed confused. Without thinking, she suggested a potential approach she had read about in one of her medical journals. The senior doctor, initially dismissive, later realized her suggestion could have been crucial. Dr. Harris began to take a personal interest in her progress. He saw something special in Emily, a combination of theoretical knowledge and practical compassion that was rare. "You have a gift," he would tell her, "not just for medicine but for understanding human beings." The challenges were relentless. Examinations tested more than just her medical knowledge. They tested her entire being. Each test was a battle between her dreams and the obstacles life had placed in her path. She would sit in the library, surrounded by medical texts, her determination burning brighter than the study lamps. Her father continued to be her greatest supporter. Though he understood little about medical science, he understood everything about perseverance. Every month he would send a small package, sometimes a homemade meal, sometimes an encouraging letter, always filled with love. Emily's routine was brutal. Cleaning shifts from midnight to early morning, followed by lectures, then more studying. She would catch quick naps between classes, her body exhausted but her spirit unbroken. Other students complained about workload. Emily saw each challenge as an opportunity. The medical community slowly began to notice her, not just as the girl from the working-class background, but as a promising medical student with a unique approach to patient care. Her compassion set her apart. Where others saw medical cases, she saw human stories waiting to be understood. As her second year approached, Emily realized she was no longer just fighting to become a doctor. She was fighting to change the perception of what a doctor could be, someone who came from struggle, who understood pain not just medically, but emotionally. Her journey was far from over. But with each passing day, each challenging lecture, each difficult shift, Emily Thompson was proving that dreams don't have a price tag. They have a heartbeat. The end note. This 800-word narrative captures Emily's challenges during medical school, using simple language, focusing on her struggles, determination, and gradual transformation, while maintaining an inspirational and engaging tone. The surgical training ground was ruthless. Emily Thompson stood in the sterile hospital corridor, her green surgical scrubs slightly wrinkled from another long shift. Around her, experienced surgeons moved like well-oiled machines, their confidence a stark contrast to her nervous energy. Senior doctors seemed to have an unwritten mission to break her spirit. Dr. Richard Thompson, no relation to her, was particularly challenging. A middle-aged surgeon with a reputation for being harsh, he watched her every move with critical eyes. "You think you can become a surgeon?" he would often ask, his voice dripping with sarcasm. Emily's hands were her greatest weapon. Despite the constant criticism, she practiced surgical techniques with religious dedication. After her shifts, she would stay behind, practicing suturing on synthetic skin, watching medical procedure videos, and studying complex anatomical diagrams. Her nights were a battle between exhaustion and determination. While other trainees went home to rest, Emily would review medical journals, memorizing intricate surgical procedures. Her tiny apartment became a medical library, with surgical textbooks, covering every available surface. The hospital environment was unforgiving. Male surgeons dominated the field, and a working-class woman like Emily was seen as an outsider. They expected her to fail, to break under pressure. But Emily had learned resilience from her father's struggles, from years of surviving on minimal resources. One critical moment defined her early surgical training. During a complex appendectomy, the lead surgeon struggled with an unexpected complication. While others watched nervously, Emily quickly identified a potential solution. Her calm suggestions saved the patient's life, earning her a momentary moment of respect. Dr. William Harris continued to be her silent guardian. He would strategically place her in challenging situations, knowing she had the potential to excel. "Medicine isn't just about technical skills," he would tell her. "It's about understanding human vulnerability." Financial struggles continued to haunt her. Her surgical training meant long hours with minimal pay. Some days, dinner was a simple sandwich grabbed between surgical procedures, but Emily never complained. Each challenge was another step towards her dream. The other surgical trainees formed their own circles, often excluding her. They came from wealthy families with connections and private school backgrounds. Emily was different. She carried the weight of her working-class history, her determination her only true companion. Night shifts were her greatest test. While others grew tired, Emily's concentration remained sharp. She learned to survive on minimal sleep, her body adapting to the brutal medical training schedule. Coffee became her closest friend, keeping her alert during long surgical procedures. Her patients became her motivation. Each person on the operating table was more than just a medical case. They were someone's parent, child, or loved one. Emily approached each surgery with a combination of technical precision and deep emotional understanding. Slowly, her reputation began to change. Nurses started requesting her for complex procedures. Patients noticed her gentle touch and compassionate approach. She wasn't just becoming a surgeon. She was becoming a healer in the truest sense. Dr. Richard Thompson, who once criticized her mercilessly, gradually changed his approach. During a particularly challenging surgery, Emily's quick thinking and steady hands impressed even him. "You might actually become something," he grudgingly admitted one evening. The surgical world was testing her, not just her medical skills, but her entire being. Every procedure was a battle, every criticism a potential breaking point. But Emily had learned long ago that struggles were just opportunities in disguise. Her father would call regularly, his working-class wisdom providing comfort during her most challenging moments. "Remember," he would say, "your background is your strength, not your limitation." As her surgical training progressed, Emily realized she was doing more than pursuing a career. She was breaking barriers, challenging perceptions, and proving that passion could overcome any obstacle. The hospital corridors that once seemed intimidating now felt like her second home. Each step, each procedure, each moment of challenge was transforming her from a nervous trainee to a confident surgeon. Her journey was far from over. But with each passing day, Emily Thompson was writing a new definition of medical excellence, one that came from struggle, determination, and an unbreakable spirit. The end note. This 800-word narrative captures Emily's struggles during surgical training, using simple language, focusing on her challenges, resilience, and gradual transformation, while maintaining an inspirational and engaging tone. The operating theatre was silent, tension thick as fog. Emily Thompson stood beside the patient, her hands steady, her mind racing. A complex neurosurgical procedure waited before her, a challenge that could define her entire medical career. The patient was James Miller, a 45-year-old factory worker with a critical brain tumor. His family sat outside, hope and fear dancing in their eyes. Emily knew this was more than just a medical procedure. It was a chance to save an entire family's future. Senior surgeons surrounded her, their eyes critical, waiting for her to make a mistake. Dr. Richard Thompson watched particularly closely, his arms crossed, expecting her to falter. Emily could feel the weight of their expectations pressing down on her shoulders. Her training had prepared her for this moment. Years of late-night studying, hospital cleaning shifts, and endless practice had led to these crucial minutes. Her hands moved with a precision that surprised even the most experienced surgeons in the room. 30 minutes into the surgery, complications arose. The tumor was more complex than initial scans had suggested. Where other surgeons might have panicked, Emily remained calm. Her years of working-class resilience had taught her that pressure was just another challenge to overcome. Dr. William Harris, her mentor, watched from the corner of the operating room. He saw something special in Emily, not just medical skill but a deep human understanding that went beyond technical procedures. Suddenly, the senior surgeon leading the procedure hesitated. The tumor's location was tricky, the risk significant. But Emily saw a potential approach that others had missed. With respectful confidence, she suggested an alternative surgical method. Initially, the senior surgeons dismissed her suggestion, but as moments passed, they realized her approach might be the patient's best chance. Her calm explanation, backed by precise medical knowledge, began to change their perspective. The next 2 hours were a masterclass in surgical precision. Emily's hands moved with a combination of technical skill and intuitive understanding. Each movement was calculated, each decision carefully considered. When the procedure finally concluded, the operating theatre erupted in quiet admiration. James Miller had survived a surgery that many had considered impossible. His chances of full recovery were significantly higher than anyone had initially predicted. Outside the operating theatre, James's family waited. His wife, Margaret, clutched her handkerchief, tears of relief streaming down her face when the news arrived. Emily had done more than perform a surgery. She had restored hope. News of the successful procedure spread quickly through the hospital. Colleagues who had once whispered criticism now spoke with newfound respect. Emily Thompson was no longer just a trainee, she was becoming a surgical legend. Dr. Richard Thompson approached her after the surgery. His typical harsh demeanor had softened. "You did well," he said, a rare compliment from a man known for his critical nature. Emily simply nodded, understanding that respect was earned, not given. That evening, Emily called her father. Her voice was tired but filled with quiet triumph. Robert Thompson listened, his working-class pride overflowing. He had always believed in his daughter's potential, even when no one else did. The hospital administration began to take notice. Emily was no longer just another surgical trainee. Her unique approach, combining technical skill with deep human compassion, was something special. Dr. William Harris saw the transformation happening. "You're not just becoming a surgeon," he told her later that week. "You're becoming a healer in the truest sense of the word." Emily's journey had never been about proving others wrong. It was about proving to herself that dreams could become reality. Her working-class background, once seen as a limitation, had become her greatest strength. The turning point wasn't just about a successful surgery. It was about changing perceptions, breaking barriers, and showing that true medical excellence comes from passion, not privilege. As she walked through the hospital corridors that evening, Emily Thompson knew her life had changed forever. The nervous trainee was gone, replaced by a confident, compassionate surgeon ready to make a real difference. Her story was far from over. But this moment, this turning point, would be remembered as the beginning of something extraordinary. Endnote. This 800-word narrative captures Emily's critical turning point during a challenging surgical procedure, using simple language, focusing on her skill, resilience, and transformative moment, while maintaining an inspirational and engaging tone. Years passed, and Manchester welcomed a new kind of medical hero. Dr. Emily Thompson stood proudly in front of her community health centre, a dream she had nurtured since her struggling days as a medical student. The centre was more than just a medical facility. It was a beacon of hope for working-class families who struggled to access quality healthcare. Emily remembered her own journey, the nights of hunger, the financial challenges, the constant battle to prove herself. Her father, Robert, now retired, watched with tears in his eyes. The small boy who once worked endless factory shifts now saw his daughter transforming lives. Every brick of the health centre represented a piece of their shared struggle and triumph. Local families came from miles around. People who once couldn't afford proper medical care now found a compassionate healthcare provider. Emily charged minimal fees, understanding the financial struggles of her community. Some patients paid with what they could: a home-cooked meal, farm produce, or simply heartfelt gratitude. Dr. William Harris, now semi-retired, would occasionally visit. He saw in Emily the embodiment of true medical calling, a doctor who understood that healing went beyond medical procedures. "You've done more than become a surgeon," he would tell her. "You've become a community's lifeline." The health centre became a training ground for young medical professionals from working-class backgrounds. Emily created scholarship programs, mentorship opportunities, and support systems for those who reminded her of her younger self. Her reputation spread beyond Manchester. Medical journals began writing about her unique approach to community healthcare. She wasn't just treating diseases, she was treating entire families, understanding their social and economic challenges. Some days, Emily would perform surgeries. Other days, she would sit with patients, listening to their stories, understanding their lives beyond medical charts. Her medical bag contained more than just surgical tools. It carried compassion, understanding, and hope. The local hospital, where she had once worked as a cleaner, now sought her advice. Doctors who once criticized her now sought her guidance. Her journey from a struggling medical student to a respected community doctor was complete. Her father's health was declining, but his pride remained undiminished. "You've done more than I could have ever dreamed," Robert would say, holding her hand during his frequent hospital visits. Emily ensured he received the best care, treating him with the same compassion she showed all her patients. The community health centre became a symbol of transformation. Young children from working-class families would visit, seeing a different possibility for their future. Emily spoke at local schools, sharing her journey, proving that dreams had no economic boundaries. Government officials began recognizing her work. Awards came, but Emily remained humble. Her true reward was in the lives she transformed, the families she supported, the hope she generated. Dr. Richard Thompson, who once criticized her mercilessly, became one of her strongest supporters. "She has redefined what it means to be a doctor," he would tell medical students, using Emily's journey as an inspirational case study. Her personal life remained simple. Emily never married, dedicating her life to her medical calling and her aging father. Her small apartment remained modest, filled with medical books and photographs, documenting her incredible journey. The health centre became a community hub. Beyond medical services, it offered education programs, nutritional guidance, and mental health support. Emily understood that true healthcare was holistic, addressing more than just physical symptoms. Young medical students would seek her mentorship. She would share her story, not as a tale of individual triumph, but as a testament to the power of determination, education, and compassion. Her father passed away peacefully, knowing his daughter had not just achieved her dreams, but had created a legacy that would inspire generations. Emily mourned, but her work continued, a living tribute to the man who had believed in her when no one else did. As years passed, Dr. Emily Thompson became more than a doctor. she became a symbol of hope, a reminder that background does not determine destiny. Her journey from a working-class neighborhood to a respected medical professional inspired countless others. The little girl who once studied by candlelight had transformed an entire community's understanding of healthcare, compassion, and human potential. Her story was a beacon, proving that with passion, hard work, and unwavering determination, extraordinary things were possible. The end note. This 800-word narrative captures Emily's final transformation using simple language, focusing on her community impact, resilience, and ultimate triumph, while maintaining an inspirational and engaging tone.